Hey guys, welcome to Intuition 888. I'm Rochi Ricciuto, your host for this channel. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you, and I'm really happy and grateful that you are joining me. And we want to talk about grief today. Grief is something very real, and it's something that we do on a regular basis, and often people struggle big time with grief, to a point that grief can actually destroy your life. If you are one of these people, I encourage you to come with me into this video and reflect. Have you ever thought about grief in your life, not in a way that is just about when you lose someone, when someone dies, but are actually coming from a place of observing grief from all different angles. So grief, right? When you change cycles in your life, grief when you finish a relationship, start a new one, grief when someone passes away, grief when you are changing jobs, changing careers, grief when you are doing so much work on yourself and you're changing identity. There's a massive amount of grief in that perspective, in that angle of reality. And I wanted to leave this reflection with you, for you to just really observe your life. When I'm in a rehab working with people dealing with addictions, it's a massive transformation, it's a massive change. And that massive change, it's all about grief, because we're grieving leaving the addiction, we're grieving leaving people behind that they are not part of who we are becoming. They are not part of who we are healing with the way we actually want life to be moving forward. And unfortunately, grief is just a natural way of living life. We have to start normalizing that, as opposed to making grief a villain, to making grief a bad thing. Because the more we develop acceptance about grief, the easier it becomes to move, to flow around those lines of grief. The more we resisting, the more painful it becomes. And you gotta give yourself time. There are times in life that you want to keep things for yourself, but there are times in life that you really want to bring it out. You want to cry, you want to scream, you want to laugh, you want to punch, as long as it's all in a safe, contained way and it's not affecting anyone else. It's important to really give yourself a space if you are dealing with grief and loss, okay? But mainly grief in here, because grief is something that we're going to experience, and we have to normalize it, as opposed to thinking that I don't want to feel this, I don't want to lose. We are going to go through the process of healing that wound of abandonment, wound of rejection at times. It's all involving grief in some way, shape, or form, in some sort of level. And sometimes we just gotta go with the flow and just feel what we need to feel, as opposed to escape the grief, as opposed to ignore the grief, as opposed to just use all different strategies and options that we have, such as dopamine hit, right? Eating, food, training, in a way that is not beneficial for processing grief. That's what I'm saying. There are other times that you need that. You need to go and, okay, I'm going to actually take care of myself, do some sort of exercise. I'm going to go and catch up with a friend. I'm going to go, but it's in a healthier way, not in a way that, like, do you know what? I don't want to feel this. I don't want to process the loss of my mom or my father or my best friend or whoever it is, and I'm just going to put all my head into, work to a point that I don't feel anything else. Drink myself to death. Let's drink, let's drug, they are all coping mechanisms. They are just simple coping strategies that they are not beneficial, they don't help in order to suppress grief. So it's really important to be in tune with yourself, to give yourself time, right? When we are riding this wave of life, we gotta understand that takes time. Everything takes time, takes space to be able to let go. And we can only let go when we finally, instead of fighting with it, we accept it. And when I say accept it, it's not just consciously saying, yeah, I accepted the fact that I lost my job. You can accept on a conscious level, right? On a logical level. But what if internally you're still holding on that resentment? Internally you're still holding on that anger about it. You're still holding on that, regret. Where is this going to take you? You gotta grieve. You gotta literally just say, do you know what? I had to leave some people behind because they were not doing any good for me. I care, I love these people. Sometimes it's even your family. Sometimes it's part of your family. But you gotta choose you. And when you choose you, you grieve. When you choose you, you allow sadness. When you choose you, you allow yourself to take as much time as you need, because grief doesn't have a set time for you. Grief happens in stages. Grief happens in ways that is unexpectable sometimes. And we all grieve differently. You cannot compare your grief to my neighbor's grief. You cannot compare your grief to my grief. I lost account how many times I've been through grief and loss in all different ways. And every time that happens, it really just pushed me down again. And when it pushed me down harder when I don't listen, harder when I don't sit with it. And I wanted to just open a space in here for you to understand when I say sit with the grief, okay, because I was in therapy the other day and it was really interesting. Had this person, explaining to me about how does he sit with emotions, because I've been working with this person regarding on how to sit with emotions and so forth. And I bet, and I've seen it so many times, there's people here who say, I'm sitting with myself, I'm sitting with my emotions. When you sit with yourself and with your emotions, it's not about you ruminating or thinking this sucks. It's about giving yourself space. It's like, hey, look, I acknowledge this is actually really uncomfortable. I don't like feeling what I'm feeling. But I'm seeing where this is coming from. I'm seeing grief. Hey, I get it. Grief is sending me a message that I'm sad. And I'm sad for blah blah reason. I don't know your reason, but or because I didn't want to lose my friends, or because it's really tough to say goodbye to addiction, or because it's really tough to say goodbye to myself, to my old self, the old version of me that kept, going round in circles and not getting anywhere. We did have great experiences, but it's hard to say goodbye. And this is how grief is. Grief just requires you to look at grief in a way that brings compassion. Not just to others, to yourself. So when you're grieving, and even if you say, well, but I lost my father 3 years ago, and you say, I thought I did grieve then, and I feel like fine. That's what I used to say, right? When I lost my father. But reality is, grief doesn't specify a time frame. It doesn't, right? You might be really good and you've been processing, and then all of a sudden you have to just allow yourself to feel. Allow yourself to just go, do you know what? I really miss that person. I really do. And instead of holding on to that, why do I miss that person so much? Or why am I feeling like this? Or why am I thinking about this? You think about that because you felt love, connection. You think like this because you had times, moments, connections. You had experiences that they were probably good in your perspective or bad in your perspective, I don't know, but you had a memory. And therefore, sometimes you're going to think about that. And it's okay. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. All you gotta do is just bring your hands to your heart, breathe, acknowledge grief. Hello, I see you. Don't like you sometimes. Doesn't feel really comfortable. It really squeezed my heart. But I'm gonna allow you to actually be here, because all you want to show me is that this was important to me. So if we are talking about the loss of a person, of someone important to you, for example, keep the good memories, keep the good things. If you journal, write about them. What do you miss about these people, about this person, about these situations? How important it was for you. Acknowledge that. Acknowledge that grief is there with a purpose. And I want you to really, really remember this. Grief comes, grief goes. Comes, goes. We are constantly experiencing that. Constantly in life. It's not a good, it's not a bad thing. It's just part of what we experience. And when we know that, we can just allow grief to be. And when we know that, we reduce the resistance. And when we give the space for these emotions to show up, for this grief to really show you what it wants to show you, It reduces the resistance, it reduces the strength, it reduces the hold on you. And over time, little by little, this will become easier and easier. Doesn't mean you're going to forget things, but it becomes easier and easier. I have been through, you have been through, a lot of people have been through out there, and we survived. That's all you have to remember. Even in the most horrendous pain, we survived grief. So just simply allow yourself to just flow with these waters of grief. It's a process, and it requires a lot of care, a lot of compassion, a lot of understanding and kindness. If this video resonates with you, I want to leave something for you to reflect on. Write about someone you miss today. What do you miss about them? Observe how you feel when you're doing this practice. How do they actually make you feel? How do they make you feel? And then go and surround yourself with positive people. People who brings the best of the best in you. Surround yourself with those who lift you up and who wants to see you succeeding. Don't let grief take you down. It's just a phase, and that phase shall pass.